I'm going to be so honest with you. I have been trying to tell my testimony, and I don't know if you can tell, but I've been crying my eyes out every single time I've been trying to do it. This is like my fourth time doing it, and all the videos are like 30 minutes long. But I feel like I'm missing so many important stuff in my testimony that I want to make sure I include it all, because this is rough. Before I was even born, my mom was at a church event and she was being ministered to this lady who was telling her to put everything back in place, because I have an older sister, and when my mom was pregnant with her, the complications were unreal. My mom didn't want another kid, and this lady that's ministering to my mom told my mom that God was going to put everything back in place, and that this child was going to be a child of God with a strong ministry and a strong purpose. And my mom was also talking to God, but was saying, wait, she got me messed up with my sister. She thinks that I'm my sister. Don't listen to her. And lo and behold, God did listen to her, and he listened to my sister and my dad, because my sister and my dad were also praying for a sibling, but they were praying for a brother. And I'm a girl, so maybe you guys should have prayed and fasted, or I mean, you were there. You were there. I could give you props, but yeah. Anyways, but in all seriousness, from the start of my life, like, God has been in my life like no other. There'd be times in my life where I would just see God manifest at a young age, and I knew who he was and I knew who he is, and I was just like, just in la la land. And I love it. And every time I refer to my first love with God, I always think back to my childhood, because that is when it was the most pure and boldest relationship ever. Because I didn't care what anybody thought, saw. I was doing it. I was a dansora because my aunt and my uncle are in pastoralship. So when they were building up their church, I was the dansora. I would dance in church when my family used to go to church. And with my mom and dad, when we were at this church that is now called Christ Point or City Point. It used to be called Victory Christian Center, and I used to be a dancer there. Well, not a dancer there, but I would praise dance there on my own in the own sanctuary without anything, like just wearing my church clothes, girl. It doesn't take much to be a worshiper, okay? Just worship from the heart, and that's a true one. I was just a true worshiper for God, desperate for God, wanting more of God, and I just loved him with all my heart, and he was just manifesting in my life, manifesting in my heart and my family. And my mom and one of my mom's best friend was big on prayer rooms and war rooms, and I was like, I want one. So my mom built me a prayer corner, and I had this box where I still have it till this day, and it has notes that I written to God in crayon when I was like 8 years old, pictures of me and Moses chilling up in heaven, because Prince of Egypt was my movie. And just God was just manifesting like no other in my life. I recently just had a childhood friend reach out to me and remind me of how I used to have everybody at lunch praying for our meals in third grade. And then at recess time, what would we do? We would play church, because that's what your girl was doing. And I was just like, wow, like, God is truly just great, because even as a child, like, he was using me and I didn't even know. I just thought we were just playing church, because, like, I'll be the minister, you be the pastor, and you be the treasurer. And I was just doing my own thing. But like I said, it was that boldness. And I loved that boldness that God gave me. God was showing up and showing out so much in my life that I remember I have specific, like, childhood memories. Like, how in Inside Out they have these little special balls that are like core memories. Like, I have core memories of deliverance happening in my house. This one time where my mom was having prayer service or something in her house, and this guy was getting delivered, and my sister had to send me and my cousins downstairs because they were just throwing up and all this other stuff. And I was just telling my sister, like, what's going on? And she just told me, just go downstairs, just go downstairs. And she was just like rushing us to go downstairs. And it wasn't like I was afraid, because I wasn't, but I wanted to know, and I felt the presence of God. And it's kind of weird because some people like can't really feel the presence of God during deliverance. They're just like, oh, pray, pray, pray. Because girl, if you ain't straight with God, best believe that. But I just felt the presence of God so strong that day that I was just like in awe, basically. Like I don't even know. But then I got distracted with American Idol because we're just kids, so we just got distracted with the Wii, and that's how that day went. God manifested himself so much in my life, and I just thank him and I give him all the glory and all the honor, because really I have stories upon stories of God just showing up in my life as a kid that I remember till this day. And I just thank him because, I mean, like, how often do you see a kid in love with God, especially in these times? When I was a kid, my family was going through a lot. And my parents were in the start of getting a divorce, or maybe the middle of getting a divorce, because it happened way before I was even there. They were starting to fight. And my sister, she was in her teenage phase, and she already apologized for all of this. But she told me, she was like, it's your fault that they're getting a divorce. And I was like, really? I was so depressed when I heard that, because, like, I know that I would be the reason why they would fight, because my mom would be like saying, oh, if you don't clean your room, Jelena, then I'm going to clean it for you. And if I clean it for you, then I'm going to throw all your toys away. And then I'd be like, okay, I get a free clean room, clean all my toys, throw them away, clean my room. And then I got my butt beaten. And then my dad would go dumpster diving and get all my toys out of the trash that she just threw away. Then my mom would be mad, and then they would fight. So when all this, and this didn't happen often, or maybe it did, I don't know. But my sister was like, you're the reason. And I was just like, really? But obviously it's just deeper than that. And we were just young and dumb. And being a kid, you really don't understand what you're saying, but you just see what you see. And my sister felt that way. And, I could see it. I was just like, maybe she's right. Maybe I am the reason. When she pointed that out, like it really hurt me. And when my parents would fight, me and my sister, we would go into her room, and we would hide under the blanket. And me and my sister is my rock. Yes, my mom and dad raised me and supported me, but the reason why I know about feminine hygiene, the reason why I passed school, the reason why like I know the basic understanding of womanhood is literally because of my sister. Like, my sister was both of my parents at the same time. Like, my sister was my girl. If I was getting bullied in school, I would run to my sister. If I wanted advice on boys, I would run to my sister. Like, my sister was my gal, and she still is to this day. So me and my sister, we had a rocky relationship at first, like sisterly, but as we gotten older, we started getting along much more better, and we were each other's teammates, because every time something would happen wrong in our lives, our parents would be like, when I die and your mom dies, you guys only have each other. And we were taught that all our lives. So now I really don't, I'm really cool with that. Like, if Justine, if you want me to move in, I am cool with that. Okay? In all seriousness, God was just manifesting in our lives, and there was just a point where divorce hit our family, and it hit it hard. And I mean hard. Bam, like as soon as the divorce started happening, everything started flying out. Like, God was not in my mind. Nothing was in my mind anymore. It was all just sadness, depression, hatred, and I'm desperate for attention. Honestly, like that was my mentality. We obviously had to move because of custody reasons. My mom got custody over me and my sister. So we moved to my grandparents' house, and I was moved to another school. And I got bullied so bad at that school. I used to come home crying. And I also was looking for attention. So I would be talking to boys, talking to other people, trying to be like them, and then getting fed like every thing that they were doing. So if they were from the world, I was acting like the world because I wanted to be cool. Like, I didn't want to be a dweeb. So if they would cuss, if they would do something, and mind you, we were in the 4th grade. if they would cuss, if they would talk about sex, if they did whatever the kid made, whatever they did, I was doing it. And that's exactly what I did. I was in the fourth grade talking about sex. I was in the fourth grade flunking because I didn't care about my grades anymore because my parents just got divorced. Let's act crazy. I wanted an iPod. I wanted an iPod. That's when the iPod from Apple came out, which I still have. And I got it, and I didn't deserve it because I was a brat, but I got it, and I would sext boys on there, and I was just this nasty, corrupted little girl. And how did I get there? I want to say that it first started with me and one of my childhood friends being sexually curious about each other because I was friends with the opposite sex. So it was like, what do you have? And it just opened a lot of doors because then we started like just exploring with each other, and that's where the door just opened. And that was probably where I could remember how it all started, and that was just where it all just fell from there. My sister and my mom were so desperate to get me out of my room because all I would do was lock myself in my room. I was getting bullied. I was being depressed. I just wanted attention from these boys that didn't care about anything about me. They just wanted to look at me. And I would just give them everything to look at. Like, I would wear these tight leggings just so they could slap my butt on Friday because there was a thing called Slap Butt Friday. And I would get in these little relationships, and I would act like I knew about sex and I knew about this and I knew about that. All my friends would be like, "Oh, and how do you do this and how do you do that?" And I would act like I knew everything about it. And lo and behold, I'm a virgin. I didn't even lose my virginity yet, but yet I'm talking the talk. I would just, be sexting boys here and there, be masturbating, watching pornography. I was this dirty girl in my life. I was so nasty and I was so dirty. And I just thank God right now because, oof, if God didn't interrupt in my life, I don't know where I would be. During this time in my life, like, my mom was still taking me to church, and I would be with my mom and dad every other weekend, and I would go to church, girl, and I'd be the maddest one out of there. I'd have a steak face on. I didn't care about anybody. And when they would clap because, oh, the preaching's so good or the music was so good, girl, I would be clapping because it's over. Yes, let's clap because the song is finally over. That was me. You see how corrupted that was? I would clap because it was over. I would clap because, oh, everybody's clapping at the preaching? Well, probably because it's almost over. Thank God for another minute passing because that's what I'm clapping for. And that's how corrupted I was. And I was just obsessed with these boys, and I was just boy crazy and sex crazy. And I was building the sex addiction, really, because I could not go to sleep without masturbating. I could not, if I was bored, I would just do it. Like, it was just the thing to do. This time, my sister was having her own boo thing, and she was distracted with him, and I would go out with her. And when she would take me on these dates with her boyfriend, I would be paired up with his brother. So we would be talking and we would be dating and we would be kissing and we would be doing all this other stuff. And then it would just build me into more curiosity and stuff like that. Are you seeing the pattern? Good. Because this is where I'm going. So now I have like this big old giant sex addiction. I was being sexually harassed. I was being touched. I was letting guys touch me. I was letting guys touch me even though I didn't want it to happen. I was just participating in Slap Butt Fridays, and I didn't really speak to anybody about this because this is the attention that I was asking for, that I wanted, but it wasn't the attention that I like. I liked the attention, but I didn't like how I had to get the attention. But since I had the attention, might as well. Does that make sense? I was just participating in all these things that I could. I finally got in a relationship, or whatever a relationship was, with the little boy that I was with because we were little at the time. And he was my first kiss and my first makeout. And I was just in love with this guy. Okay. And all at the same time, while this is going on, I'm still living with my mom. My grades are slipping. And church, don't really care about it, not really into it. I'm, like I just said, I'm just here to be here. I'm here because I have to be here. I'm not here because I want to. No, I'm just here because I have to. If it was my choice, I'd rather be at home. So uh, that was going on, and behind the scenes while all this is going on, and I'm getting into relationships because I just wanted you to see how much sexual addiction just took over my life. But with this, while this was going on, I was trying, like, I was corrupted with my friendships. Like, I just wanted to be the best friend that I could. So if I felt like our relationship was slipping, I would make up stuff so you could just stay my friend. I was jealous of other girls, so I was trying to be like other girls. I wanted whatever the other girl had. I wanted it because I wanted to be just like you. I was desperate for the new shoes because everybody was obsessed with these Jordan, Nike, Air Forces, whatever, and I wanted the new hot new stuff. I wanted this, I wanted that. My mom didn't get enough, wasn't like, loaded with money, and my dad was really the money maker in the relationship. So we didn't really have a drip, but I wanted to flaunt. I wanted to be that thing. I wanted to be that girl. I had a dream to be Hannah Montana. I always wanted to be a pop star. I wanted the latest new things. I wanted to be this big thing that, like, that wasn't really fulfilling. It's just something that I just wanted to be. And I wanted to be loved, and I wanted to be that girl and your best friend, and you can't have no other best friends. Like, that was me. I was this sensitive, jealous, envious little girl you could ever even imagine. That was me. When I was stirring up the sexual addiction as upon with being bad in grades and bad in school and bad with friendships, and just really just a terrible human being, because I would just like lie all the time and just make these lies about me and how I know everything and everything else. I was wrapped up in this relationship, and I eventually like gave him my virginity when I was in high school. And when this started happening, um I was flaunting, like I was so good at it, like I knew everything about it, and I was so knowledgeable. But as soon as he left the house, I was 15. As soon as he left the house to go to like a football practice thing or whatever, girl, I cried. My spirit was so sad and so depressed because I really had the urge to keep my virginity till I was married, even though your girl was facing some battles. I really wanted to keep it till marriage, and I couldn't. And my spirit was so, it's not that I couldn't, it's that I wouldn't. My spirit was so sad and depressed and just, ugh. I literally got on the phone and I called my sister and I cried to her, telling her that I lost my virginity. I just felt this emptiness. I felt nasty. I felt disgusted. And I felt like the lowest I've ever been. During this time, I didn't live with my mom anymore. My dad got finally custody of me because I wanted to be with my dad so much, because my dad was my hero. When I was a little girl, like I was a daddy's girl. That's just it. And now that I was with my dad, like, it was hard because now, like now it's like me and my dad, so I'm kind of like the maid. Does that make sense? Because now I'm washing the dishes, now I'm washing his underwear, and I'm just like, what is this? Like, my dad didn't really know how to raise a girl because it was normally just my sister and my mom. So he didn't know what to do with me. So I was just all over the place. And I would cry to my sister about after I lost my virginity. And this guy that I lost my virginity with, he would cheat on me, and he would go see other girls and go kiss other girls and go talk to other girls, and I would be heartbroken. So when I was with my first boyfriend and he would just cheat on me, I was reconnected with one of his cousins, which was basically just like a childhood friend that he used to be with. And me and her got really close, and we were the bestest friends. And we would go do crazy things together, like these parties, and have sleepovers with boys at her house. And we would have drinks, and we would never smoke weed, but we would deliver weed. Crazy, right? I know. And we would get drunk and stupid and just this crazy. It was just a crazy time to live. And I was so far from God, but yet I was talking about him, because the boys would all get so high and just start talking about God, and I was just intervening, and I was just talking about like what I knew about God. And it's crazy how you can still be in sin, but the guy's just on the heart. There was no fear of God in all of us. Like, we all were just talking about the benefits of God, but we weren't talking about the sacrifice of being a person of God, in God. You know what I'm saying? So she was my best friend, and then I got in this other relationship with this other guy, because when my boyfriend started cheating on me and stuff like that, I was heartbroken, but I would still stay with him. But it would happen so much where I was just like, no, I gotta go. So I left him, and when I was leaving him, I found this other guy. And me and this other guy started talking, and I was still holding on to my first boyfriend while trying to get into a new relationship. And this is what I like to call a band-aid, because I kept doing this throughout my life. So please remember this point of my life. So in order to get off of my first boyfriend, I would go to my second boyfriend. And with my second boyfriend, man, I love this boy so much that if he needed my arm or my kidney or my heart or whatever he needed, man, I'd just give it to him, because this man was the love of my life. Like, if I never would have known what true love is from God, like, I would have thought that this was it. Because now I have a new perception of love. Now love to me is more with the spirit. But when I was in love in high school, it was all physical. So I knew of God. He knew of God. Okay, win-win. He's Puerto Rican. I'm Puerto Rican. Okay, win-win. Like, it's just like what dink. And then we like slowly found out that like our families knew each other, and it was just like, oh my goodness, like, am I gonna be my husband or what? And it was just like this crazy time to be alive. And man, this man was my life. Like, if he wanted to do whatever he wanted to do, I just wanted to do it. I just wanted it to be wherever he was. And if he was there, I wanted to be there. Okay, period. At first, it was a very loving relationship. But since I was dealing with things and he was dealing with things, and we don't know the real definition of love, because you cannot love somebody if you don't have God. Okay, pause. Let's talk right quick, because this is something that's really bothering me. When you are in a relationship and you have respect and love for that person, you're going to show it. You're not going to just say it, you're going to show it. So for the ladies out there, you cannot say you love your man and my man, but be showing your tits. Okay? Okay, now I could finally move on, because that was a big problem of mine. Because, girl, I used to do that too. But let me tell you, if you really love somebody, you're going to be conservative for them. I'm just going to say that right there. Because if that is your man's, then cover up what's your man's. You know what I'm saying? But it should be for your husband. So your husband is what you should be saying, or what I should be saying. So now we're both convicted. Anyways, since I already opened the door to losing my virginity and all this other stuff, now it's like you just carry that on to the next relationship. So of course, that is one of the doors that we walk through. At this point in my life, like, I wouldn't pray. I would just participate in church, and I would be with God for one moment and trying to get right, and then the next moment I completely forgot about him. Like, he was never there in the first place. As soon as I started dating this guy, like, majority of the boys that I was hanging out with my other friends left, and everybody that I was with, they all left. Like junior year, I was seriously alone because I just didn't have anybody. Like I wouldn't talk to anybody, and the people I would talk to would only be the people that I sat by in class. The only thing that I had was this boy. I was seriously alone. Like I didn't have nobody but my boyfriend, and that was the problem. Because whatever he was doing, I wanted to do because I didn't have nobody else. And I left all my friends, and all my friends that were my friends left me, and all I had was my boyfriend. So in this point of time, like things are just kind of weird in my relationship with God still. They're not good, but we would still participate in the church. And now my boyfriend was participating in the church with me. So now we were participating with each other. And my pastors were getting to know him, my family was getting to know him, and he was just really a staple in my life. And we did everything together, but our relationship was starting to get so toxic that it wasn't even funny anymore. I'm not even just talking about him, I'm talking about like the both of us. I would do things to him to get back at. He would do things to me to get back at, and we were just doing revenge on each other. Then it came to a moment where it was my birthday passed. Me and him were going through a tribulation because some cheating and disloyalty was going on, and it was just horrible. And I haven't gotten my period in a long time. So I told my best friend that I was with, and I told her, I was like, listen, I need to go get a test. Like, can you please come with me? Because I'm scared. And she was like, sure. So she came with me, and we got a test after school. And then we went to her house, and I took the test, and it was positive. I called my boyfriend and I told him, like, I'm pregnant. And the fear in his eyes, the fear in my eyes, because like I said, we're both Puerto Rican, so that's the end of the story. And that's the end of our story, because we're dead. And I can't even imagine to tell you how I felt that time, because that time was so crazy. I would be cramping on my bed. I remember just how it felt. And I was like, oh, my period's coming, my period's coming. And no, it would never come. He was saying that he wasn't ready, and I was agreeing. I was telling him that I wasn't ready either. And we were just talking about it throughout our days. And he was saying that he doesn't want it, that this isn't good, and that we're young, and all these other things. And I just agreed because I didn't know what else to do. I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want a kid either. Seeing my sister go through what she went through, because my sister has a powerful testimony of her own, and I was just like, dude, like, we're in the church, like me and him were fooling around while going to church. This is why you can't do that, because look at us. And we were in the church, and I was like, dude, like, how are we gonna do this? Like, this is crazy. Like, I was just thinking the absolute worst. A couple of days later, I had to tell my dad. God bless my dad, because he just wanted the best for me. But he was just like, what do you want to do? Like, no, you're not. Like, what do you want to do? Like, what are we supposed to do? And he was freaking out. And I was freaking out. And I was just so tired. And I would just sleep. And I would throw up. And my dad's like, yeah, being pregnant isn't fun. I was just like, God, like, what did I do now? Like, I really got myself into some trouble. So my dad was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't want it. And at that time, I was working at McDonald's. And I knew that abortion was wrong. And it's not of God. but I really didn't want it. And I went to the clinic and they were telling me, like, hey, this is like, everything looks healthy, everything is fine. Like, I went through the procedure and everything, and they were just like, do you want to see how healthy it is? She was like, oh, yep, it's a healthy baby. You're 6 weeks. Do you want to see the baby? And I just told them no. And they explained everything to me. They were telling me that I would feel possible relief and that I would feel some cramping for a couple of days, but a lot of women just feel relief and hope, and they just prepare for the future and they feel this type of freedom. And I was really dependent on their words. So I got an abortion, and I knew it was wrong. I just never knew why it was wrong. I was never the same after. I was so depressed afterwards that my life was never the same. I was so skinny, I was fitting into my 13-year-old's cousin clothes, and I was 17. I was deep in depression, and I wanted to kill myself, and I wanted to die. There was so many times I wanted to cut myself, but I didn't have the balls to. But I just wanted to feel something because I was so empty. And the only reason why I never took my life is because I couldn't perform self-harm to myself. It was hard to harm myself, and that's why I couldn't do it. But I wanted to. My dad, after the procedure, he wouldn't let me talk to my boyfriend at all. So during this time, we would only be able to text, but I wasn't able to see him or anything. So I would always go to my mom's so I could see him. And I'd always go to church so I could see him. And then when my mom found out, everything just crumbled. And even though he was telling me that he didn't want it, at the end he came around, when it was already done. He came around and was trying to put me in the right mindset to keep it the day of the procedure. I believe it was, actually. And by then it was already too late. I was just like, it's just done. And he was mad at me afterwards, and he wouldn't talk to me either. So again, I was alone, and I didn't have nobody, and I missed school for a very long time, and I was barely in school. There was this graduation party that my sister's godmom was hosting, and she had a dream about me being pregnant. And it's crazy because even though you're so far from God and you're doing mockery up on the altar and it's just a whole big joke to you, he never gave up on me, and he just kept pursuing me. And he gave her a dream about exactly about what was going on in my life. The dream was about me being pregnant and about me wanting to die. And it was everything that I was feeling. It was all represented in the dream. And I was just like, yes, that's exactly how I feel. So a couple months later, I'm still in this relationship with the same guy, and we're still going at it. We would try to get serious in the church, and we would try to get serious with each other, go on these hiatus, let's not have sex, let's not do this, let's not do that. We were trying to get right with God, but every single time we would just slip and fall. And at this time, I was going to school, trying to be in phlebotomy classes because I was just having these rickety jobs at these grocery stores. And meanwhile, while me and my boyfriend were still together, we would have on again, off again relationships. Like, again, like these are the band-aids that I was talking about. I would be with this guy and this guy. Every single time that we would break up, I was with another guy. And even though I wasn't sleeping with them, I was still being in a relationship with them because I didn't want that sinking feeling of something missing. So I would just replace it. And I just have these band-aids with a whole bunch of men. And it was just because I could never be by myself. I hated being by myself. I always needed to be with somebody. And the truth is that I needed to be with somebody because I hated being by myself. Because I hate being alone. I couldn't stand myself. I couldn't stand to look at myself. So if I have somebody else to distract me, then I wouldn't have to pay attention to the real problem here, which is me. So now I would have these band-aids on and off in my life. And fast forward, like me and him would be serious, not serious, on again, off again, break up, make up, all these stuff. He would break up with me, I would break up with him, I would run and chase him and always grab him back when I was doing whatever I was doing, because I would always break up with him and be like, no, we can't be together because we always make each other fall. But then I would go chase him and be like, oh, let's be together, blah, blah, blah. Like, it was just so confusing. So now we are at this point in our relationship and in God, like, we are sat down from church because the church found out, everybody found out. And so we were both sat down and I was like, okay, I need to be serious about God, because if I'm going to make it through phlebotomy school, because I was stressed in phlebotomy, okay, if I'm going to make it through phlebotomy school, me and God have to be like this, because I cannot do this by myself. God and He was working on me. And when God was, mending my heart, putting it back together and stuff like that, I would just tear it back down. And with sexual temptation and more lust and more like vapes, because I was stuck on the vape. I was addicted to the vape, man. Like, vape had me addicted so bad. Phlebotomy school is where God really showed up in my life, because I would pray before the test and I would ask God for wisdom, and God would give it to me, girl. He would give it to me, because I couldn't have done it without him, honestly. Like, God deserves his certification too. I mean, I know he's a doctorate in pretty much everything and he excels in a doctorate, but he deserves a phlebotomy certificate too, because I couldn't have done it without him. We were just trying to get our lives right, and little by little God was talking to me and he was giving me dreams, and